Welcome to Trial Lawyer Prep. What if you could hang out with trial lawyers and jury consultants? Ask them about connecting with clients and juries more effectively. Then take strategies, tactics, and insights to increase your success. Each week, Elizabeth Larrick takes an in-depth look at how to regain touch with the everyday world, understand the emotional burden of your clients and juries, and use focus groups in this process. Elizabeth is an experienced trial lawyer, consultant, and founder of Larrick Law Firm in Austin, Texas. Her goal is to help you connect with juries and clients in order to improve your abilities in the courtroom. Now, here's Elizabeth.
Hi there, it's Elizabeth. I want to jump in real quick before this episode starts and tell you a little bit about my guest, Keith Storar. Keith practices at Dobeck, Pfeiffer, and Storar in Helena, Montana. Now, Keith is originally from Idaho, but he came to Montana for college, ended up getting a Bachelor in Science and Wildlife, and of course went to the University of Montana School of Law and joined the environmental law group there. He actually got to clerk with the Honorable Kirk Kruger in the Second Judicial District Court and eventually made his way to Dobeck, Pfeiffer, and Storar, where he serves as a partner. You're going to hear a lot about Keith and his opinions on focus groups. If you want to reach him, his contact information will be in the show notes. All right, enough of me yib-yabbing. Let's get to the episode. Hello, and welcome back to the podcast, Trial Lawyer Prep. I'm your host, Elizabeth Larrick, and we are here to talk all things focus groups, trial prep, witness prep, to help you do better in your cases. And this episode, we have a guest joining us, Keith Storar from Helena, Montana. Hello, Keith. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining the podcast. I want us to have this great conversation about focus groups. And I wanted Keith to come on because I've known him for many years. If you haven't known or you just started listening, I really love Montana. And I had this awesome experience of being asked multiple times, I'm not sure how, to talk at the Montana Trial Lawyers Association, which is where I met Keith, and have really been in contact for several years. So I thought, you know what? You guys are doing focus groups. Come on and let's tell people about your perspective.
Well, I'm happy to be here. And it's always lovely to have you in Montana. I think everyone appreciates the insight you give to our trial lawyers group when you do speak at our events. So thanks again for coming.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Happy to always do that, which, not to plug, but I'm always happy to talk to anyone's TLA. If you're out there and you need a speaker fill in and you're the CLE director, give me a call. All right, let's talk about the task at hand, which is focus groups. So, Keith, tell us a little bit about kind of your practice area and really when you kind of started doing focus groups.
Sure. Well, actually, I started with this firm in 2015. And at that point, they'd already started to do a few focus groups. I mean, not a lot. And obviously, the way that they're done has changed dramatically since then. But, it was when we had a more catastrophic injury type case, we would do a focus group on damages and then show that to the adjuster to say, look, here's what normal people are valuing this case and, to try to get the value up. And frankly, it worked, on some of these cases, I think it worked. I was really new to the entire thing. We eventually had our office wired up so we could secretly watch focus groups in a separate room while someone else conducted it. So that was 2015. They maybe started a year prior to that. So that's how long the firm's been doing it, maybe 10 years. With that, we weren't doing them regularly. It might be once every 6 months or something like that when you have these bigger cases and these big issues you really wanted to figure out. And then I first took the focus group course from Don Keenan's Edge Colleges back in 2018 in Atlanta. I flew back and took it there, and it kind of revived or changed, I guess I should say, the way we did it. And at that point, I started conducting them more on, sort of the smaller issues and things like that and trying them out that way. Maybe doing 2 or 3 focus groups in a 2-hour session on different cases and on liability or things like that, just like the general narrative type focus groups. So it kind of evolved. And then, frankly, the pandemic came along and we stopped. We didn't have a big list. We would kind of go to the job service. We'd post on some job boards, but locally, to find people locally and have them come into our office. But we had never run a virtual focus group. And frankly, I still have never personally run a virtual focus group through our firm, organizing it. I always end up tagging along to someone else that's got the system in place to organize and that sort of thing. And so that's sort of our evolution of focus groups. And I'm still at the point where we need to probably just get our firm on board to have our own business separate entity to help run them, because I think that's the next step, and virtually too.
Right. Yeah. Well, let's unpack that. That was awesome. I appreciate that, because I really feel like that perspective is very similar to most people, because you don't get, you're waiting for the bigger cases. You're not doing them regularly. You're doing them kind of sporadically. And I think that's actually the norm, right? I don't think most people, unless they really had the mentor or came up with the, through the system of whatever, trial technique that kind of got you on board to doing those, whatever that may have been. And I think it's pretty normal. So that people kind of do them really leaning towards damages, unless you had you're going to trial and you just really need to make sure you got liability all pinned up. And then I think that, having the flexibility that, the focus groups kind of offer under the Edge system is really where a lot of people are, oh, okay, there's lots of ways to run these. And like you said, do 3 cases in 2 hours, right? And be kind of management on the time part of things. And then now we have this new opportunity. Now, granted, it's really not new. Like Zoom's been around for a while. So, but I think it's new to us, right? And also, it's new to everybody around us. The pandemic really opened up that technology for everyone, right? So
Yeah.
you go to the doctor you see your financial advisor, pretty much anyone you can just Zoom with instead of going in person. So it's really helped, I think, like you said, post on job boards, find people, and most people already have the technology because they've been using it. So tell me a little bit about, creating your own system. So you guys had one, what are the benefits of just having your own in-house system?
Well, I think the benefits are, one, it's cost savings. I mean, we're not paying for someone else to, pay their employees to do the tasks that our employees could do. And so you can make the focus groups a little bit cheaper. And then, I think it's just having more control over the process. You can run them when you want. I think that's probably the biggest thing, because I know you can probably, I guess in Montana, we're probably more limited with our focus groups. We don't have entire industry built up around it. There's really only a couple people, well, actually, for probably one in the state that's sort of the main focus group is Seventh Amendment Productions, and they do a good job organizing and that sort of thing. But you're limited to, you can't run one quite as easily. I guess what I'd like to do, and we were never at before, but what I'd like to do eventually, I'm kind of like developing my, business strategy, 5-year plans and what I want in 2 years and 3 years. But what I'd like to do within the next year or so is have 2 focus groups a month on various cases, on various issues, so that I can really help develop the issues within the case and find out what people care about, so I can, go down that road of the discovery I need or the deposition type things I need to ask if people are interested in that, as like case development stuff, which I really haven't done on my focus groups. And I'm really wanting to move into that thing. So I think having them in-house, it lets us plan, okay, we're on a regular basis, we're going to conduct focus groups. And so, yeah, that's the reason I want to have that strategy as part of our firm policies and strategies or whatever.
Sure. And I think the other thing that a lot of people talk about as a benefit is it makes you get back into your file and dig around and create that presentation versus handing over to somebody else. Well, it's great to do that to get another perspective, but most of the time when you're doing it in-house, you are taking a different look at it no matter what, because you're thinking, okay, I've seen this thing, many, many months, right? But now I'm going to go talk to a brand new set of people who are not lawyers, and I have to create this presentation. So it really gives you, right, a whole nother dig into it, especially if you've got some staff that are helping you too, right? Because they'll, once everybody kind of gets acclimated to doing focus groups there, it's much easier for them to say, oh, hey, you got plaintiff defendant all over this thing. Don't forget to take that out, right? Just use names. It's like, oh, right. So it's like little catches of things that when you do them on your own, you're going to find. And the other thing that I always hear from folks as well who like to do their own is like, they want to be the ones to really get in there and get that feedback right to them, because that helps them, talk on their feet, really start to communicate well. But also there's something about that interaction that really helps you as a trial lawyer be on your feet, on your toes, right? You're ready. And you're not really arguing with them, but it'd be just like, talking to a judge or mediator, right? You have to listen very well and then like ask for more, do whatever. So I know that people enjoy doing on their own so they can get the benefit of that residual, skills benefit.
And that's the one thing, I think I love the most about focus groups is you get to ask. You never really provide an answer, I always just throw a little question back at them, or why is that important? Why do you need that? And then you you unlock this sort of Pandora's box of incredible information that I didn't think of when I was looking at this aspect of my case going, oh my God, I missed this entire thing that they want to know about. So, then you can dive into it. And I think that's just an incredible thing. Plus what you said, thinking on your feet, all those skills transfer, because I get stuck behind my desk like everyone, freaking writing emails to insurance adjusters and other attorneys. And it's just like so monotonous. It really breaks that monotony and helps, just polish your other skills, I guess.
Use them. Because like you said, unless, you've got a really high volume motion practice, which most people don't, because that's a whole drain in and of itself. You're really not, there's not a lot of opportunity, to get on your feet. Now, depositions are one place, but that's very different than, focus group presentation. And I think that the thing too that you talked about that I want us to kind of dive in a little more is that whole opening of using little snippets, little pieces of focus groups to help you get on the right track for asking discovery, right? Questions, and then thinking through like depositions and what they want to hear. And is this a good question or a bad question? So tell us a little bit about kind of like that process and what gets you excited about that.
Yeah, I think it's just, everyone said you think like a lawyer, you don't think like normal people. And I'm always amazed when you sort of unpack a focus group and what they're saying. You get this incredible information on like opinions, or it's like a bias that lives underneath that you don't know exists on your case until you start to, dive into those questions and follow up with the focus group members. But I think the nice thing about using them in a more limited way is, you can show them a witness, that you videotaped and say, what do you think about this guy? And let them just unload. And you can find out if it's a good witness, a bad witness. You can put your deposition of your plaintiff if you want, your own client, say, is this, good testimony? Is this believable? What are your opinions? And you can really just think about, as you're developing your case, you're also developing your case for trial. And so you want to know, is what this guy said believable? Even though in your mind and all the paperwork you have, it's what they say is a total lie. But how are you going to present that to a jury? And did it come across properly in the deposition questions you asked where you thought you nailed them? Did they really have a gut reaction of, oh my God, that guy's a liar? Or did they say, that's just a normal excuse. Everyone says that. And they're going to give them a free pass. And so that's the nice thing about sort of using them as a smaller sort of piece of your case. Exactly. And say, well, let's talk about this puzzle piece today. Honestly, I've never focus grouped the case 10 times prior to trial. Maybe I'll get there someday, man. But, if you do it 3 or 4 times, even 2 times, you get incredible information on how people are going to think about your case, even if it's just a piece or 2 of the case that are important for like liability facts that you really want to make sure gets people frustrated or mad about, so that you can have, get them on board for liability, that sort of thing. So, and again, I haven't really gone back to the damages side to develop that aspect of the case. I have used, since the pandemic, some of these like online survey focus groups where they send it out to like 100 people. And I found that those have been a little bit better for damages because it allows me to you present both sides of the case and you can make it more defense oriented or less defense oriented, however you want it. But I usually try to make it more defense oriented with a survey of, this is the plaintiff's attorney's asking for this much money. Is that appropriate? And then you get a bunch of responses and kind of the easy summarized results from 50 to 100 people. And I think that can be maybe more useful on damages. I haven't found the smaller, 6 to 8 quite as useful because the live ones, because they start to play off each other. And then I kind of get lost in the discussion on what's reasonable. But I feel like the survey ones, which, I don't do and I would probably never be able to do, but those ones are just another interesting type of focus group that I think can be useful as, your quiver of arrows there.
Absolutely. And those are becoming so much more, I won't say I think they've been around again. Yeah. So with Zoom, we just didn't it's, us lawyers, sometimes we can get in our little cubby hole, and oh no, we can't, we must go in person. No, we cannot, judges don't want to.
Yeah.
And now there's, oh, look at all this technology and availability, which means now that there's, it's much more acceptable. There are a lot more companies now that are doing the data studies that are not, this 5,000, person study. Like you said, they're down to 100 or 50 people. It's a lot more manageable for you as far as deciphering and figuring that stuff out. And those are 100%, helpful for damages. And one of the things that, you mentioned for doing kind of the puzzle piece, kind of focus group is, doing the depo clips. And one of the things that I always find eye-opening when we do them is they will totally sometimes just side with the witness because they're well, I don't like that lawyer's question. Right. Yeah. And you're thinking, well, that was my question. And that's why I'm always okay, this is great because it'll be a contested liability. And this witness is not, as from our lawyer's eyes, they're not answering the question. They're being evasive. But when you show the clip, it all goes back to, well, that lawyer's just badgering them. That lawyer's just being mean. That, that question was not good. And it's just oh, right. And so, and most of the time they'll say, hey, that lawyer should have asked this question. And it's okay, who else, you can get all these questions that you're okay, so can really help you kind of hone in for cross. Or when you go to that next witness, whether it be the 30v6 or the supervisor or the, another somebody on the defense side, you could have some of these questions to ask. And it becomes very helpful for putting together that case theme or that frame that you're trying to, put together. Because, that's the thing that I always tell people is you don't really even want to wait to the end to test your case frame. You could get it kind of early on and keep, it's like putting bumpers on when you're bowling, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Make sure you're going to hit the pins.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. And I found also that there's just a different way that, you might speak to a jury about a legal issue that you have to address in your case for what your jury instructions are going to say versus what a judge or defense attorney cares about. So you can kind of say, okay, at trial, I'm going to have to present this jury instruction in this way. These are the facts, or this is what they want. Whereas the judge might want some sort of 3-part test that you have to argue on summary judgment motion, which, you have other evidence for. But, if you're going to go to trial, you're going to utilize what the focus group said on that particular jury instruction or a piece of evidence because, it connects with them in a different way than how it connects with the judge, so.
Exactly. And that's another really great use of, if you're doing a focus group, is here's the jury instruction. How do we make sense of this, right? How do we say this in a normal person way? That way, when you get up there, you're speaking, like you said, directly to them, not to, you're checking the boxes for the judge and everything too, but, you're really, being able to speak to them and read their minds, which, blows people away.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, Keith, the other thing that I had for us to talk about was I know that you guys are kind of, you're getting your system back online, if you will, since the pandemic, and you came to my foundations course. So tell me a little bit, what made you decide to come to the foundations course?
Well, well, I guess I found out it maybe through one of your emails. I'm not sure even how I found out about it. It must have been through one of your emails, but I wanted to do it because I want our firm to start doing these more regularly. And I know that that's really the only way it's going to happen is if we run it through the firm. And I wanted to take the course because we've never run the virtual focus groups. And I know there's a whole recruitment side of it that you got to learn. And, even lots of great information in your course, like how to prevent fraud. I mean, I didn't even think about that till we had that as one of the workshop sessions. I don't know, maybe it's session 2 or 3 or something, but it was like talking about how to identify people. Because I didn't even think about people from Africa are going to try to friggin' go to your focus group or South America and, get paid to, give an opinion on something that they're going to have no connection to at all.
Yeah, they care.
Or living in a different country. And so, and then plus they might not show up. I don't know. I mean, there's all sorts of things, but how to sort of identify those people. And I think there's a lot of interesting things that you've obviously learned and probably struggled with for, I don't know, maybe a couple of years before you kind of figured out, okay, how do we prevent these people from overwhelming us, And so I just know there's a different strategy. It's just not kind of recruiting people locally on Facebook through late Facebook classifieds and not, calling the A to Z staffing folks to round up, 10 people for an in-person focus group. It's just different and it's more complicated in a lot of ways, but you can also do it, from, I guess, the comfort of your own home or desk. And then, I wanted to take it first to make sure that it was, but getting back to your, I guess, question of why did I want to take it? I wanted to take it because I wanted to figure out how to do it virtually, how to recruit virtually. That's my biggest question going into it is how the heck do I even start recruiting for this on the virtual space? Because I know how to use all this stuff, but I'm not out there posting on Facebook and Instagram every day. So what are the sort of things we need to figure out how to recruit people for it? And so I think that was the most important for me and just sort of get the system back going and in place so that we can be up and running here, within 6 to 8 months or something. So that was the purpose. And then I liked what you said enough. It kind of motivated me again to say, yeah, this is what we want to do. And it was a great sort of reintroductory tutorial. And so actually my staff, I'm having them rewatch the workshops right now so they can go understand what's going on. Then I'm going to have them probably your next one, take it from you in person so they can refine their questions, because I think that's it's going to take that to get us going, so.
Mm-hmm. Good. So find it beneficial. Did it help?
Oh, very beneficial. Oh, it definitely helped. Yeah. I got to thank you for just putting it on because I don't know. I guess I'm not out there searching the internet for these things. I get a lot of my stuff, so much promotions through email, but this is really the only one that I feel like, I don't know if I've gotten another focus group promotion through email, but it's definitely worth taking the course because, if you're interested in it and you want to do it, because it's a step-by-step outline in how to put these things together, which otherwise I know that I would just struggle through over and over and over. And this puts me, 10 steps ahead in the right direction. So, and that's what I wanted.
Yeah, I don't want people to struggle like I did. Because trust me, when I started running, it was like we had 3 people.
Yeah, I bet. I can't imagine what you went through trying to figure out your strategy.
Yeah, well, and it's that's the thing too is things. Of course, I never anticipated that scammers would eventually and then it was like, well, this is a new problem I didn't anticipate. So I definitely want to pass that along to people because if the road gets bumpy, sometimes we just say, well, I've got so many other things that are difficult, litigation, like this all these other issues that we're dealing with, like focus groups should be something that are, manageable, pretty easy to put together. And then obviously, like you said, the fun part is hearing them talk and being able to follow up, just like you said, and say, hey, tell me more about that. And just really being able to engage with them and just learn, be a sponge and just learn from them and their point of view and just, even if it's different, even if it's, completely off the wall, because even those one-offs here and there, like just even that information and having that in your brain, when you do have to go to jury selection, you hear that person, you're going to know, oh, there was someone in my focus group. I know that this personality, right? And so it's like you end up storing it back there. It'll come back to you, or someone on your team too. It's like, wait a second, we know this personality. We've had them before.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and yeah, I mean, going back to just the program itself that you put together, though, I mean, I was just thinking, because you said you have so many other things going on. I mean, I know that if I don't sort of set a deadline, my task is going to get lost in the pushback. And I knew that I needed sort of more of like a policy book on how to get these things moving, because otherwise I wasn't going to develop it on my own. And I think that's probably the most beneficial thing. I printed them out, your little workbooks, because it gives you kind of step by step. Here's what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And now I can set a timeline for me and my staff to start moving into that direction. So, but yeah, I mean, overall, like you said, the information you get is just incredible. We just don't get that information, even from friends and family, because the way we're explaining our case is biased, and then they like us, and so it's just great to be able to present it in a way that you can get some really honest feedback about if you got a good case or not.
Yeah,
So.
and that's half the battle too. Is just like they're great for that point too. Of like, do I keep investing more money in this case? Like,
yeah,
that's a lot of what people have to decide. And that's so hard when you work on the plaintiff side, because you have to really manage that. And this is where I think we spend oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles of our time. But then we realize, oh crap, we're going to have to invest in that expert, and we're going to have to, but people just, it's really difficult because you're on the line. So that's where I love having focus groups for them to kind of direct, what do you need? What do you not need? And that's another super helpful thing, that just a very neutral focus group will tell you, that people, they're clueless about what the rules are for daycares, like, or whatever it may be, whatever your case is. So, well, awesome. Well, Keith, do you have any advice? So we're thinking about the listeners, folks who are listening. Do you have any advice for any lawyers who may be on the fence about doing like these little small snippet focus groups or doing virtual?
I guess my advice would be try it, and if you can't do it yourself, hire another person, pay for the hour slot to have someone else run your focus group so you can watch it and see if it was successful, see if it got you what you wanted. And, working with people like you or these other folks that do focus groups a lot, they often have, a whole background of knowledge of here's how you want to present, here's how you don't want, how to talk about this issue, what type of focus group you want to run. So, if you're on the fence, meet with someone like you, Elizabeth, first, and have her go through your case and tell you yay or nay to the types of questions you have, and have her run it, or maybe if you want to run it too, if it's one of those where you rent out like the hour space in front of the folks, but see if it's something that works for you in your case. And I would imagine 90% yes, 99%. And the other thing is, now everything can get recorded so easily, like auto transcripts come in like an hour, and then you can freaking look at what people were saying. Everything is so much easier virtually. Before I had to go back and rewatch, I still will rewatch the videos, but you get the transcript, you can do these quick summaries that you can look back to later, and folks like Elizabeth can show you how to do that so that you're not having to scramble to try to watch a 2-hour video, the week before a trial. You can go back to the focus group breakdowns and say, here's what these people thought were important, or here's, this type of person is terrible for our jury. It's someone that just, who knows, whatever the categories are for a slip and fall, or whatever, daycare person. And that you're going to find people by analyzing the results, and where you can focus your voir dire and figure out, what's a good person, what's a bad person. And right away, before you even go into voir dire, that these 10 people on your jury pool of 60 fit the criteria of a bad juror. So you're going to be real skeptical of them right off the bat because of some of the things that you get out of focus groups. So I think that's, if you haven't done them, go work with someone that has, like Elizabeth, and, try it out. I think you'll find it to be beneficial.
Yeah, try it out. I love that because that's really half the battle is things change all the time for trial. Things change all the time for our, plaintiff's personal injury work. And it's like, you have to be willing to kind of try something new that may be out there. And there, like you said, there's so many more pieces of technology that make it easier now. Like you said, the transcript is immediate. I remember having to go and literally transcribe my own videos. Like I have my own practice. I was like, oh my gosh, there's got to be a better way to do this. But now, and even, everything catches up eventually to kind of make it a little bit easier. So I do appreciate you. There's some great advice of just try it. Because again, there's not been one where I haven't run where somebody's not like, okay, all right, I got it. I learned, even if it's just like one nugget. And sometimes the one nugget is, I got to settle this case.
Yeah, you realize. I know.
Yeah.
I know. Very helpful.
Yeah. All right. Well, Keith, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate that. And we're going to have all of your contact in the show notes for people, email, all that good stuff. But I just want to ask if they're, let people know, just here, roll and give you a couple seconds here, tell people, I know you're on LinkedIn, so they can connect with you on LinkedIn. If they have any questions, if they got, something coming up in Montana, what is it that you and your firm are doing right now that you just say, hey, we're the best at this? Like, come talk to me.
Yeah. Well, we're a full-time plaintiff's practice, personal injury. And what we're really specializing in now is more of the larger truck cases. Montana, you get a fair number of those every year, as well as just car crash cases. I mean, I think a lot of plaintiffs' firms have the background car crash cases, but the truck litigation is what we're specializing in now and going down that road a little bit more. So if you ever have a case in Montana, let us know, and we'd be happy to partner with you or help you out, if you have some questions, certainly. So,
yeah. And trust me, if you don't know this, Montana has a very, very small bar, and they all go to the same law school together. All the judges, everybody.
Yeah.
So everybody knows everybody. So this is a place you really want to get local counsel. Okay.
Yeah, that's
for sure. So awesome. Well, Keith, thank you again so much for joining us. And all right. If you enjoyed this podcast, please rate and review on your favorite podcast platform, and also push that little plus button to follow and get the episodes automatically downloaded to your phone or device. All right. Until next time. Thank you. Oops. It's Elizabeth. I forgot to mention something, and I definitely want to make sure that I get it in here. And that is, Keith talked about the online class, the Virtual Focus Group Foundation course. And I wanted to mention, if you are interested, or maybe you know somebody who's interested, please share the episode. But also click in the show notes and find the contact form, fill it out, and get on my email list, because that is when I will announce the opening for the next course. All right. Thanks so much.